Hello everyone, I'm Chaitanya. Today we are going to see some interesting deep sky objects. To begin with, we'll start with Jupiter. You see this bright point of light? That is Jupiter. You can even spot its moon below it. There are actually two moons. Jupiter is currently the brightest object in the night sky. After passing its opposition on January 10th, it has now returned to the evening sky and will set around midnight. You all know that Jupiter is the biggest planet in our solar system, but it isn't the brightest planet. The brightest planet is actually Venus. After passing its superior conjunction, Venus has now returned to the evening sky and is shining as the evening star. Let's look at Venus. So Venus is actually very low on the horizon. It's setting with the sun, but after a few months it will be quite high up in the sky. This is Venus. Now the fun fact about Venus is that its time in the evening sky and the morning sky is not the same. Venus goes under retrogression like any other planet. Right now, Venus has passed its superior conjunction, so it goes like this. Say, I am the Sun, this is Venus, and this is Earth. So, Venus revolves faster than Earth. Right now, it has passed behind the Sun. That's why you see a full phase, because all the light that goes onto Venus is reflected back. Now, Venus is returning from the other side. That's why it is seen in the evening. Once it comes in front of Earth, it will be just like a new moon, and none of it will be visible. So, Venus stays in the evening sky and the morning sky for about 588 days. That's more than a year. But do you know the time taken for Venus to pass from the evening sky to the morning sky is just 3 months? But for it to pass from the morning sky into the evening sky, it takes a lot of time. Why is that? That is simply because of retrogression. Again, Venus takes less time to pass in front of the Earth, but takes more time to catch up because Earth is also revolving. So, to catch up from the morning sky to the evening sky, Venus takes a lot of time. Last time when I observed Venus in the morning sky, it was around May, and it is March, but Venus still hasn't risen much up. The moon is also visible. Let's look at the moon. So, this is the moon. You can see some craters, but most of the detail isn't visible because it is still in its second phase, also known as Advitiya. Now, as it gets darker, you can see Jupiter, Sirius, and a few more stars. Okay, so let us see Venus once again. You can see it looks like a full moon. After some days, around June, it will be in its crescent phase. Another fun fact about Venus is that it isn't its brightest in its full phase, like the full moon. The full moon is at its brightest when it is full, but in the case of Venus, it is when it is in its crescent phase. That is because in its full moon phase, Venus is behind the sun, and it takes a lot of time for light to reach us, and it gets significantly dim. But when it is in its crescent phase, it is at its nearest point to the Earth, but also not too near for it to become a new Venus or a new moon. Did you spot the pair? This is Venus, and this is the moon. One more thing you might have noticed is that the sunset here, this is Venus, and the moon, they both are not in the same plane. That is because the plane of revolution of Venus is slightly different from that of moon. For those of you who missed Jupiter, let's see it. Out of the four Galilean moons, which is Callisto, Europa, Io, and Ganymede, three of them are visible. One of them is behind Jupiter. Did you spot the three moons? No, it's the manual 150 mount. It's not the Vertiso mount. So that was Jupiter. Now, if you look a little south, you can see another bright star. This is Sirius. It is the brightest star in a night sky, but not the brightest object. See, the moon and Venus are looking quite beautiful. This star is Rigel. It is the brightest star in Orion. Let's wait for the sky to get a little darker and we'll see the Orion Nebula. Okay, so some fun facts about planets. As we know, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn are visible to the naked eye, but Uranus and Neptune are not. Uranus has an apparent magnitude of around 5, which is just above the limit of our naked eye viewing. Now, what is magnitudes? Magnitudes are any integer numbers which define the brightness of the object. Lesser the magnitude, more bright is the object. 0 is set as the limit for all the blue giants, which is Vega, is set for 0 magnitude. Now, as you go into the negative side, objects get brighter. Venus has an apparent magnitude of minus 4.8. Jupiter has an apparent magnitude of minus 2. So, which will be brighter? It will be Venus because it has a lesser magnitude. The moon has a much lesser magnitude, which is around minus 10 during a half phase. So this is all about magnitude. Sirius also has a magnitude in around minus 1. So our naked eye viewing limit in normal conditions is 4. Uranus sits just above the limit, which is 5. If our vision would have been better, we would have seen Uranus. But Neptune is too dim to be seen. Yes, we'll be seeing Uranus as well. Okay, for those who missed the moon, so this is the beautiful pair of moon and Venus. This is the moon. Wait, let me adjust it a bit. Yep, all nice and clear. Let me just focus it a bit. Hello everyone. So in case you have missed what has happened this far, we have seen the beautiful pair of moon and Venus in the west. We have seen Jupiter, which is right above our head, and we have talked about Sirius and magnitudes. Okay, so now the sky has gotten pretty dark. Let me introduce some stars to you. As we saw Jupiter, below it you can see two stars. This one is called Castor and this one is called Pollux. These two are the brightest stars of Gemini. Towards the south, as we discussed, this is Sirius. If you look a little west, this is Orion, the hunter. This is Betelgeuse, a red supergiant which may go supernova anytime. This is the brightest star in Orion, Rigel. This is Bellatrix, quite faint to the naked eye right now from where I live, and this is Scythe. These are three stars which form the belt of Orion: Alninam, Alnitak and Mintaka. And here is the famous Orion Nebula. Towards the north, this is Capella, the brightest star in Auriga. So let us see the Orion Nebula. Hello everyone for joining in. I hope you're liking this stream. Hit the subscribe button if you're liking the content. Wow, this is the Orion Nebula. In the center, there's a trapezium, and you can make out a cloud like fuzzy patch. That's actually the nebula. Now, the fact is that this nebula has a lot of colors, and it is mainly because of hydrogen and ozone emissions. We can't see these colors because our eyes aren't capable enough, but a camera can. Now, why are our eyes not capable? That's because our eyes are made up of two types of cells, which is rods and cones. Cones can see colors in bright lights, but rods, they can only make out grayscale in dim light. That is why some bright stars like Betelgeuse and Sirius appear to have their own colors, which is blue and orange, but other stars just look white. That is because our eyes can't capture that dim light. The same case is with the Orion Nebula. If you look through the eyepiece, just as I showed you through the live view, you can just see a grayscale fuzzy patch, but in a camera, a lot of more colors appear. Some of them are even infrared and ultraviolet. Now let's move on to the biggest and the brightest open cluster of all time, which is, can you guess? Which is the biggest open cluster in a night sky? Any ideas? It's actually the Pleiades. Pleiades is the brightest open cluster in a night sky. It is located in the constellation Taurus. Let me locate it. So this is the Orion's belt as we previously discussed. Alninam, Alnitak, Mintaka. Now if you stretch a line from these towards the south, you can see Sirius. But if you stretch a line in the opposite direction, you can see Aldebaran. Now Aldebaran is another red supergiant just like Betelgeuse. Pleiades is actually visible to the naked eye as well in dark skies. You can see 6 out of the 7 stars. So this is Pleiades, also known as Kritika Nakshatra in Vedas. Can you make out the 7 stars? It forms a Y shape. A quick recheck, Venus is almost setting. So we saw Kritika, This is Aldebaran. A little below is Kritika. And there is another open cluster in Taurus which is called the Hades. This is the Hades cluster. Okay, so that was all of the telescope viewing for today. We'll once just revise all the stars that we saw today. Jupiter, below it you can see Castor and Pollux. This one is Procyon, Sirius, Orion constellation with Rigel, Betelgeuse, Alninum, Alnitak, Pentaca, Bellatrix and Scythe. We saw Venus and the Moon, Capella from Auriga, so that was all for today. I hope you enjoyed my stream. Like and subscribe if you want more such of astronomy content. And this is Chaitanya Bhade taking off. Goodbye. Thank you.